Welcome back. Some fascinating new polling finds a majority of Americans blame President Trump and congressional Republicans more for this ongoing shutdown. According to the latest NBC News poll, 52% blame the GOP and Trump, while 42% blame Democrats. 4% blame all parties involved. It comes as President Trump is now facing criticism for hosting a Great Gatsby-themed Halloween party at his Mar-a-Lago club just hours before millions of Americans lost their SNAP benefits amid the shutdown. It's kind of giving let them eat cake, because guests were seen wearing 1920s themed outfits, while hosts in flapper attire greeted attendees, which included Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and many others. The novel of Gatsby, of course, is known for its depiction of wealth inequality and class divisions in the U.S. during the 1920s. And several Democrats noted the symbolism while criticizing the president for throwing that party while this shutdown drags on. DNC Chair Ken Martin released a statement reading in part, quote, "It's lavish Great Gatsby parties and polished marble bathrooms for Donald Trump. It's empty fridges, tight household budgets, and layoffs for the rest of us." Trump made it even clearer that he doesn't give a damn about anyone but himself and his wealthy friends. A White House spokesperson defended the president, arguing, quote, "Democrats are full of it." At the same time, those SNAP recipients whose benefits expired over the weekend spoke out about this new reality they're facing.
My mom has always taught us how to survive with smaller food, canned goods, and all that. So, yeah, rice, beans, and everything you have to use in order to survive.
I really think it's a shame what they're doing on Capitol Hill, because you're playing with people's lives. And you're playing with their, the food, the jobs and everything, and it's so unfair.
I want to bring in now the reporter who did some of that reporting, Ariel Hickson. So, Ariel, you've been out talking to folks throughout this shutdown about the pain that they're feeling. Talk about the reaction and if that tracks with what we're now seeing in the polling, showing that Republicans are being blamed more than Democrats, though it's clear everyone's mad at everyone.
I think that's a big point, that everyone is mad at everyone at this point, because the question is, what's the tipping point for lawmakers to come to some type of agreement? When I talk to these people who are impacted, you have millions of federal workers, you have 42 million people on SNAP benefits, you have 65,000 families who are impacted by Head Start. That is going to be, that's running out. That's actually run out at this point. Their concern is that there's no end in sight, and they're shocked that lawmakers aren't feeling the pain that they're feeling every single day. I think these families are trying to plot out for the future, yet they can't even think weeks or days ahead because they don't know how stressed they're going to be, especially as food banks are already stressed as is because of the cuts from the USDA.
Because of the cuts from the USDA, and now you've got a court saying, okay, you've got to tap into this contingency fund, Trump administration, and at least partially fund some SNAP benefits. But when you talk to the folks who rely on this program, what are they saying about how they're planning for this? I mean, you heard one of those women say, well, my mother taught me how to stretch beans, how to stretch various foods. We're the wealthiest country in the world, and people are talking about how to stretch a can of beans.
Yeah, and I hate to say that image is perfect. Yeah. These people, too, they're proud. When you ask them, are you concerned? What are your thoughts? Are you nervous? Their first thoughts are, well, we've gone through this before. I know ways to make this stretch. I know ways to kind of stand on my own 2 feet. But the reality of the situation is that they don't have that support moving forward. And I think the concern is that, how long can you kind of rely on that pride to get you through the fact that you're not going to have enough unperishable items for your children in a couple of weeks, especially as the holidays are coming up around the corner. They're making choices now between working or, caring for their families. And I think that's a position you never thought that Americans would be in.
I mean, I've heard from friends of mine who are teachers across the country talking about how they have kids coming to school, parents coming to school, saying that this is the meal that they rely on at this point because this is their childcare. This is the place that they know that their child is going to be fed. I mean, it just speaks to the fact, and you've been asking this question of Americans. I've been asking it of the lawmakers that they're looking at for a fix. And I keep saying, what does it say that basic food is now not enough to pressure people to the table? And they say, well, it speaks to where we are. But at the end of the day, they got to get it together in order to get us out of this shutdown. It's not just people who rely on SNAP that have been impacted. You've also spoken to an air traffic controller who's been affected by this shutdown. I want to play what he said to you.
people are worried. You know, there's many folks that are paycheck to paycheck. Now bills are coming in. We don't know when we are going to be paid next. How long is this shutdown going to go on for? Air traffic control is one of the most stressful jobs out there. We have to be mentally focused 100% right 100% of the time. We make millions or thousands of decisions a day to ensure the safety of the flying public. And now when we're all thinking about, you know, how are we going to pay the mortgage that's coming due? How am I going to have childcare? You know, it starts to leak into your brain in a way that is, not great.
What he's talking about there is it's a reminder that these are people at the heart of these very high-stakes decisions in infrastructure places that we rely on so heavily. I mean, you're at Reagan National Airport there. Lawmakers fly out of there every day. When they were leaving town at the end of the week, many of them were delayed because of the impact of their own indecision.
That is so correct. And I think what you're learning from these air traffic controllers is that this job is critical. Yes. And they need to feel mentally prepared. They need to feel like they're, I have to say, as relaxed and as comforted as possible to do this critical job. And when you don't know when you're going to get a paycheck, you're worried about your mortgage. That's when they're starting to take on second jobs. You know, they're driving Ubers. They are doing DoorDash deliveries to supplement their income. And many of them are just trying to figure out ways to prepare. And I think the last shutdown that ran 35 days, it was the travel that really had an impact on lawmakers. I'm curious if that's going to be the effect as we get closer to the holiday season with traffic, with travel being stressed as is during the holidays. But, you know, when you have individuals who don't have food, who are insecure, food insecure, as well as air traffic controllers that are stressed as well, all of this is just building to a certain tipping point. And there are people who are relying on two benefits at once.
Yes.
And they rely on making sure that they have these small amounts of security or support to support their families. And, you know, they're regular people who just don't know how to plan for the future right now.
Regular people who are coming up now on the 3rd of the month. Rent was due on the 1st. Open question about when their next paycheck is coming. And an open question for us here in Washington of what is the tipping point, if not all of the pain that we've seen over the last 34 days. MSNBC reporter Ariel Hickson, thank you for coming on and for doing this work. It is so important.